I'm writing this because I keep replaying everything in my head, and maybe putting it down somewhere anonymous will finally make it stop looping. Or at least make me confront the version of events I keep trying to rewrite in my favor. My husband and I were together for 11 years, married for 7, no kids, a dog, a house we bought right before interest rates went insane. From the outside, we looked solid. Boring, maybe, but safe. Predictable in that they'll probably grow old together way. Inside the marriage, though, I felt restless. That's the word I keep coming back to. Restless. Like I had done everything I was supposed to do in the order I was supposed to do it, and now I was standing in the middle of a life that technically worked but didn't spark anything in me anymore. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't neglectful. That almost makes it worse because I can't point to some villain arc of his and say, "See? That's why." He worked hard. He came home at the same time every day. He made dinner on Tuesdays because he knew I hated cooking after work. He remembered my coffee order and the way I liked the blinds angled in the morning so the sun didn't hit my eyes directly. He loved me in a quiet, steady way that never wavered. And somewhere along the way, I started resenting that steadiness. We started arguing more in our 10th year together. Nothing explosive, just this low-grade irritation that lived in every conversation. I accused him of being emotionally unavailable. He accused me of always wanting more without being able to explain what more meant. Therapy was suggested, postponed, then used as a bargaining chip during fights. Eventually, I was the one who said it first. Maybe we need a break. I framed it carefully. Not a separation, not a divorce. Just time. Space. A chance to breathe without every disagreement turning into a referendum on our entire relationship. He didn't react the way I expected. I thought he'd argue, beg, panic. Instead, he went quiet. Too quiet. Then he nodded and said, "Okay, if that's what you think you need." That should have scared me. It didn't. I took his calm acceptance as proof that I was right. That he didn't care as much as I did. That he was emotionally checked out already. We set some loose rules, if you can call them that. We'd live separately for a month. Still talk. Still check in. No lawyers, no official paperwork. Just space. We never explicitly said, "Don't see other people." And that's the technicality my brain clings to when it wants to sleep at night. I moved into a short-term rental downtown. New neighborhood, new routines. It felt like being 25 again instead of 34. I went out more, stayed out later. Downloaded apps I hadn't touched in a decade, just to see what was out there. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. We were on a break. I needed to figure out what I wanted. I needed to feel desired again. That's when I met him. I won't go into graphic detail because, honestly, that's not what matters. And also because I don't want this to turn into something it's not. What I will say is that he made me feel exciting again. He laughed loudly. He touched me like I was new, like I was something to be discovered instead of something familiar. The first time it happened, I cried afterward. Not because I felt guilty, at least not in the way you'd expect, but because I felt strangely disappointed. I had built this moment up in my head as some kind of awakening, and instead it felt hollow, temporary, like eating junk food when you're actually hungry for something real. So, obviously, I did it again. And again. Each time the guilt got quieter, replaced by this numb rationalization loop. We're on a break. He probably is too. This is what finding myself looks like. My husband and I still talk during that month. He asked how I was settling in. I asked how the dog was doing. Our conversations were polite, almost friendly. He never asked if I was seeing anyone else. I told myself that meant he didn't care. The month ended, and I was the one who suggested we meet up. Coffee. Neutral ground. I went in rehearsing what I'd say, how the break had helped me realize how much I missed him, how we just needed to reconnect. He looked different. Not dramatically, just lighter. Like someone who'd set down a heavy bag he didn't realize he was carrying. We talked for an hour before I finally asked the question that had been gnawing at me. So, where do we stand? He took a breath. Not a shaky one, a steady one. I don't want to be married anymore. I laughed. Actually laughed. I thought he was joking, or bluffing, or trying to scare me into realizing something. Then he kept talking. He said the break had given him clarity, that he'd realized how lonely he'd been for a long time, how much of himself he'd been shrinking to keep the peace, that the idea of going back to the way things were made his chest feel tight. I panicked. Immediately. I backtracked. I told him the break had helped me too, that I was ready to come home, that we could do therapy, really commit this time. That's when he asked me if I'd been with anyone else. I froze. And in that silence, I think he got his answer. I told the truth. Mostly. I admitted I'd seen someone. I didn't tell him how many times. I didn't tell him how quickly it had started. I framed it as something that just happened. He nodded. No yelling, no insults. Just a quiet, resigned nod. I figured, he said. I just needed to hear it. The divorce moved fast after that. Too fast for my nervous system to keep up. He didn't fight me on anything. We sold the house, split the savings. He kept the dog because his work schedule was more flexible. People talk about anger stages and grief stages, but no one really prepares you for the humiliation stage. The one where you realize the story you told yourself, the one where you were the brave woman finding herself, doesn't line up with how the world sees you. Mutual friends picked sides without saying they were picking sides. Invitations stopped coming. Conversations got stiffer, shorter. I told myself it was temporary. What I didn't expect was how well he'd do. Within months, he looked healthier. He started working out. Not in a revenge body way, but in a this feels good way. He picked up hobbies he'd always talked about but never had time for. He traveled. He smiled more in photos. Then he started dating someone seriously. I know because a friend, trying to be kind in the most unkind way, mentioned it casually over drinks. He seems really happy, she said. It's nice to see. I went home and cried in my shower so my neighbors wouldn't hear. Here's the part I'm ashamed to admit. I expected him to struggle, to flounder, to realize what he lost. I expected the aftermath to punish him a little, the way it was punishing me. Instead, it set him free. Meanwhile, my life felt like it was shrinking. The excitement I chased during the break evaporated. The guy I'd been seeing faded out of my life like a footnote. Dating apps felt exhausting, shallow. Every conversation felt like starting from scratch. And I resented that more than I expected to. I started replaying our marriage with rose-colored hindsight. Suddenly, all the things that annoyed me felt comforting. The predictability I once resented now felt like safety I'd thrown away. I tried reaching out. Nothing dramatic, just a text. Hope you're doing well. He responded politely, briefly, with the emotional distance of someone who's already closed that chapter. Seeing him happy forced me to confront something ugly. My unhappiness wasn't caused by him. It followed me. I thought changing my circumstances would fix the emptiness I felt. Instead, it just removed the one person who had loved me consistently through it. I don't write this to paint him as a saint or myself as a monster. I write it because I wish someone had told me that being on a break doesn't insulate you from consequences, that technicalities don't protect you from emotional fallout, that sometimes the thing you think will wake you up just teaches you what you had when it's too late. He didn't win because he moved on with someone else. He won because he chose himself without destroying someone in the process. I'm still figuring out what that looks like for me. If you're reading this and considering a break because you're bored, restless, or chasing a feeling you can't quite name, please be honest with yourself about what you're actually risking. Sometimes the aftermath doesn't look like regret right away. Sometimes it looks like watching someone you loved become happier without you.